And welcome to the season finale of Dark Side of the Ring, Unheard, the podcast from the hit Vice TV series that takes you into hours and hours and hours of unused interview footage from the Dark Side of the Ring series, some of professional wrestling's most and least notable, most loved and hated, all the rest. Speaking of which, Jack Encarnacio and JP Sarro. After several of these episodes, surely some hated, some loved.
Yep.
Here on the Lapsed Fan Wrestling Podcast, we're proud to have brought this season 2 of Unheard to you in no small part.
Won't be the first time that I've been told I should be punched in the face.
Oh.
For speaking. Shut me up and whatever they say.
Thanks, no small part to
Yes.
Dark Side of the Ring, executive producer and co-creator Evan Husney. Good to have you back.
Well,
And,
of course. It's been a pleasure. It's been so much fun going through this, and I feel like we've only still scratched the surface with possibilities. So.
in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
So, yeah.
Dark Side of the Ring concludes its 6th season on Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Vice TV, with a look at Muhammad Hassan.
Hot potato.
This is going to be
episode.
one for the ages. Real name Mark Capani. Of course, he was the New York Italian tapped to become WWE's post 9/11 Muslim American heel.
So ridiculous.
And what that
Yeah.
means when you have to recreate yourself as someone of a completely different orientation, nationality,
Yeah,
religious beliefs.
Unbelievable.
I mean, I also kind of look at it just in broad storytelling terms as, this is a very kind of Faustian bargain tale where it's, here's a guy, Mark Capani. He is, of a Italian American descent. He gets into wrestling. He grows up loving wrestling, got a lot of passion for it.
Yeah.
Gets into the OVW developmental training.
Yep.
And then gets handed this sort of opportunity. Here's the Faustian bargain part, to shoot right to the major leagues, get right to the WWE, and of course be part of a gimmick that's going to ascend right to the top of the card. So you're sort of, he's going to fast track his way to success. But the asterisk there is you're going to have to play this very controversial, highly controversial, topical, straight out of the headlines kind of character, Muhammad Hassan, playing a sort of Arab American who is who's basically sensing all the rising Islamophobia and all the things that are happening in a post 9/11 world and all that stuff. But you're still going to be presented as a heel.
That's the fucking weirdest thing. Just
It is.
like ass backwards in every possible way.
Yeah, it's a pretty wild time, in terms of what they were looking to capitalize on, I guess.
Yeah.
So he gets this opportunity, and of course it doesn't work out. Spoiler alert! And people get upset, and it's very controversial. Even some of the networks are wanting to, maybe drop the WWE programming unless they get rid of this character. And of course, they just kind of unceremoniously have to eject, Mark Capani from wrestling. There's no way to repackage him after this crazy gimmick that he's and all.
They couldn't have just dropped it and said, "Look, I'm actually Italian."
Yeah, I know.
Russo would have done that.
He would have done that. He would have done that. Absolutely.
Right.
Come out all of a sudden with salami all over his face.
But so it's
More salami than salam.
More salami than salam.
Oh, get out!
Than salam.
Oh my god! But just a crazy story. Only in wrestling, of course, and what a fiery way to conclude a new season.
And the thing about it, and he's talked about it, he didn't just have to be Muhammad Hassan when the TV cameras were on. He's wearing the garb when he's on an airplane.
He's wearing headdresses on airplanes, and really kind of in a weird sort of way experiencing racism.
Yeah. Sure.
In this, obviously he's not Arab and he doesn't come from that part of the world, but from Middle Eastern descent, he's experiencing this in this very bizarre sort of way. Yeah. And it's just
only in wrestling.
It's only in wrestling, but it is fascinating. Even for how wrong and it is in many ways, especially in, by today's standards, but fascinating story. Bizarre chapter in the WWE history. Doesn't get talked about all that often anymore. I do believe that you can't search WWE platforms for Muhammad Hassan anymore by name, similar to Chris Benoit. It's kind of erased.
Yeah.
Whoops, kind of thing.
Right.
But it is fascinating, and it does have sort of an interesting not to just kind of give away the
Yeah,
ending of the episode, but people can, they can search out Mark's story. I mean, it's interesting. After wrestling, he basically had to reinvent himself,
Right.
and he went back to school and then became a school teacher and also became like a vice principal in high school.
Yep.
And he credits the failure of this gimmick and how terrible it was and all that stuff. That if that didn't happen, it wouldn't have sent him on this path to becoming, someone who's actually reaching out and helping people on a daily basis. So it's pretty amazing.
That
Also,
is
a
amazing.
transition story.
That's absolutely fantastic.
But it's like
Right.
someone who failed in the wrestling business.
Right.
Not really for anything he did wrong, although you can argue
you could argue,
how
but
good of a performer he was or wasn't.
whatever he was told to do, he did it well.
Right.
Only in Wrestling Boss, in that you can play, and I'm not saying he was a terrorist on WWE television.
Yeah.
Okay, I think they wanted the crowd to respond to him like he was, with that
Right.
little proviso if he actually is experiencing discrimination, and that's why he's doing that. That's a cute little play on it.
But it is kind of a little chapter out of a previous week's Unheard of the Kevin Sullivan. It's like he never said he was a Satanist.
Right.
You
Right.
know, we're not
Right.
saying he's a terrorist,
Precisely.
but we're gonna.
So don't come at me and say that that's
Right.
what we were trying to do.
Exactly. But we're putting that idea in your head because,
Why? I mean, this is so that era of
Yes.
wrestling and
Couldn't help it.
Vince
America.
McMahon and
Yeah.
America,
Yeah.
but more so in that here. Let's take this. I mean, this is another version, maybe worse actually, a worser version of the Slaughter becoming an Iraqi sympathist, in
which
a
we
way.
touch on in the episode.
Yeah, and it's like this obsession with not being in the zeitgeist, not having the pulse of the. It's just let's fucking exploit shit.
There's a heel.
And this was an awful thing to exploit. Number one,
Well-
and then also to just honestly, to then take a guy who's trying to say that not all Muslims, not all people who practice Islam are bad people,
Yeah.
and make him a bad guy.
Well,
Yeah.
knowing
Make people boo the guy.
knowing people will boo him.
Right.
Yes.
You know
Yeah.
that's what they're going to do.
We could spend all
I know.
this
it's a
whole episode
thing.
talking
It's-
about it because there's so much to talk about with this particular story
Yeah.
and the nuances of it because it is very fascinating. I think the most disturbing part of the whole thing is the fans.
Yes. Oh.
To me, it's like more disturbing than the idea, more disturbing than the heat or whatever. It's seeing the keep an eye out for it, when you watch the episode, of just all the crowd shots of the fans and the signs that they're holding, the racist signs, the crazy stuff. And that's what they're capitalizing on is that fervor. And that's something that is so as old as the hills in wrestling,
it
is the idea of the foreign menace. How can we take kind of already the feelings this audience has about a particular person, group of people, and exploit that for a storyline and heat and and to generate money, right? And we see that in like Rocky films and whatever. But
Totally. I mean, it's just. I mean, we're now. I mean, I know it still was at a different time period. They were at the end of that real thing because with no matter what you think about it, with the invention of social media and the idea that we are now literally a global community who you're involved. The world is so much smaller now with this connection with everybody that you can't have a foreign menace in wrestling anymore.
It's very
'Cause
hard.
You really can't. I mean, it's
Because
even
you can't count on the crowd to hate the person.
right.
That's the thing that it's chicken or the egg. You're assuming the crowd deep in their heart are probably racists, so we're going to use that for heat.
Exactly.
And
right.
we're going to blame it on the crowd that we
Right.
put someone in the ring
Yes.
for them to channel that
They made me
towards.
do it.
That's correct.
They made me do it.
I'm not right. I'm just
fascinating on so many levels.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
but I'll just say, and there's a lot of parallels, of course, to the world of wrestling and maybe the world of politics and how the same tricks are used and the same,
bogeyman.
the same thing is applied often, and so it's interesting and eerie and creepy to see.
Like
the
I know
similarities between
you
both.
want to hate this person. What if I gave you permission to?
Yeah, exactly.
It's all a carnival.
Wow.
It's all a
And
carnival.
so, the reason it's unique only to wrestling is because any actor could play a terrorist in a movie, and it's not like after the movie's done they've got to go through the world
Right.
pretending
Right.
to be that terrorist.
It would be like
Right.
Al Pacino in Scarface, continuing to be Tony Montana.
Right.
Her womb is so polluted.
and have to worry that in real life
Or
someone might run up on him in real
right,
life.
exactly.
Right.
Like any right. It's I was thinking too of what's his name in Air Force One, Gary Oldman in Air Force One. He's a psychopath.
Yeah.
But you don't go up to fucking Gary Oldman on the street and say, "The fuck is wrong with you?"
In wrestling,
Yeah, right.
that's what you sign
Exactly.
up
You
Crazy.
you have sold your life.
Yeah.
And on this week's
the
Unheard,
gimmick.
we're going to look at someone who ended up in that precise same position, though he took it to a method acting level.
He did.
He didn't just wear the costume and say the
did.
dialogue.
Yeah.
Nikita Koloff. I said Nikolai Volkov at the end of last episode as a tease. Tell us
There's
why.
a reason why. So when I first started watching, I started watching wrestling in 1991, and so I was only vaguely familiar with Nikolai Volkov. In fact, the only reason why I knew who Nikolai Volkov was because of the 1992 Royal Rumble, and he was a last-minute replacement. That's the only reason why I knew. But then after that, I started watching. I found out that WCW was on. I could watch WCW. And so I started watching WCW, and then all of a sudden, like, there's this Nikita Koloff. And my brain, as an 11, 12-year-old kid, couldn't process that they're completely different names. I heard N for Nikolai and Nikita, and I heard off. And so to me, they were the same person. Like, I'm like, wow, Nikolai looks very different in WCW.
And
That's so fucking weird.
That's part of what we're saying.
Yeah,
They
right.
know that the audience, that's the Russian bad guy. But
Right,
it doesn't
right.
matter.
Right.
If they're different
right.
people. And Nikolai Volkov,
That's
in
hilarious.
the Rocket Wrestling era, mid-'80s, Communist Party sympathizer, out
Yep.
there singing the Russian national anthem. Not Russian. I think he's Croatian or Polish. Or
Something
something.
like
so.
I think Croatian or Polish,
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Not Russian. And neither was Nikita Koloff, who I said his real name was Scott Simpson, but he had to wear this foreign mask.
And you couldn't get more like Anglo-white than
Yeah.
Scott Simpson.
Yeah, someone in Minnesota would know. I mean,
Yes.
he is true Minnesotan.
Yes, yes,
He
yes.
really is. When you
We
hear
know
his-
our own, so we can smell our own.
I mean, if you haven't heard him in action before, I mean, he was a top star in the Jim Crockett Promotions territories mid to late '80s, and then had that short-lived run in WCW in 1991 before his career was cut short due to injury. But you have to hear the voice. I mean, he just created this like gravelly voiced Russian accent out of thin air as someone who never spoke Russian. I don't think even knew a Russian.
and he's also somebody I believe, and I'm sure we're going to get into this, but he was sort of cast in this role.
Yes,
you know,
just
like
plucked.
he didn't have any real experience. I think some of the Minnesota boys knew him
Mm-hmm.
just from being someone who had that physique, and
Right.
he looked like he could be imposing. But here's a guy, Scott Simpson, taken out, of his everyday Minnesotan life. And basically saying, now you're going to be this Russian menace.
Oh, my God.
And he took it so far as to make sure, I'm sure we're going to get into this, I
We
don't want to
will.
spoil it, but like, Russian propaganda magazines sent to his house. He wanted to make sure the mailman saw him getting those magazines. I think there was like some birth certificate alterations.
Al Pacino was not having mobsters come by his house
Yeah,
No.
right.
to keep
Well,
up the
No,
illusion.
the illusions.
And
And so he would do this, and he would even
research,
right. And he was also unable to turn it off, even around the boys. So when he's on like the Crockett jet, for example, he's still doing the Russian thing. And I think there's a story Jim Cornette had about that, where like I think it was Arn Anderson, where it'd be like, Nikita, you can turn it off now, or something like that. Or what, I can't remember by paraphrase.
There's nothing to turn off.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's like, dude, you're fucking Scott Simpson, bro. But he's amazing, and his dedication to that sort of that end of kayfabe, protecting the illusion of wrestling. He's one of the guys that you could say maybe took it, up there with the Sheik, up there with a lot of others that really took it the furthest, who committed himself to the furthest.
Yeah, just considering where he started and who he had to become.
Exactly.
Two totally different sides of the coin. And
Abdul the Butcher comes to mind. Go ahead.
Yes. He sat for you guys, Dark Side of the Ring, for the Road Warriors episode.
Yes.
You mentioned the Minnesota boys, which meant what is meant by that is Road Warrior Hawk, Road Warrior Animal, Ravishing Rick Rude, Barry Darsow.
Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig.
These are guys that came out of pretty much Robbinsdale, Minnesota, at the same generation, and were muscleheads. Jesse Ventura played no small part, being a Minnesotan himself and having a gym in the area.
And they all went there.
These were football players who stayed jacked, who
Yeah.
loved being jacked, who were bodyguards and bouncers,
Oh, yeah.
and who were right there when Ole Anderson, who was another Minnesotan, came along and had power in the business. He started recruiting guys that he thought could make big, muscly, bad guys for his television show and training them for the ring. And so all of a sudden, there's this influx of guys from Minnesota.
Yep.
Kurt Hennig's father was in the business, so he was already set and wasn't necessarily known for his physique. But Nikita was part of that. A football player, jacked to the gills, friends with these guys, but not really a wrestling fan, and not having any aspiration to be a pro wrestler. He also sat for season 4, the episode you did on Magnum TA.
That's right.
Magnum TA was his
Big
his
nemesis.
bloodlust opponent.
Oh,
In Jim Crockett Promotions, they did a best of 7 series.
Oh, and I just got to say, that best of 7 series is so amazing. I mean, to me, it's like I'd heard about it when we did the Magnum TA episode. It was something I really got to sort of like appreciate more and watch. And it was so great how they did it. How it was like Magnum TA, the babyface. I think he was down like 3 losses, right, in the best of 7 series. And it was just this epic comeback where it's like he lost the first 3, then he won the next 3, and then of course the 7th match has all the stakes in the world for it to be, you know, and of course what happens? He loses, and evil prevails.
Yes, Russia wins this one,
which is like amazing.
That's wrestling right there.
But would they do that today? You think?
Depends on.
I don't know.
Depends.
That was pretty freaking magical. But go ahead.
It was good stuff. And Magnum TA was the all-American boy. You look like Magnum PI out there for the game. And he was just coming up against the foreign menace. So all of that said, we have a piece of sound here. He was also cast, by the way, as the nephew of the Russian bear Ivan Koloff, who was a grizzled veteran of the business at this time. No pun on grizzled.
Yeah, right.
Who had won the WWF Championship from Bruno Sammartino in Madison Square Garden. I think that match was in the Garden. And
was it? Yeah, because I think remember it was like there was silence, right? When
there was, that's right.
When he went right. I think so. I think it would have been the Garden.
So it was a time of great, paranoia and antipathy towards Russians from the wrestling crowd, and it was very.
Yeah. Oh man,
it was kind of like a
totally. That's that era right there.
Way to cash in.
A little different than today, but go on.
Yeah,
the Cold War paranoia. Yep. So Nikita fits firmly into that, and we're going to start with a little bit of tradecraft here. Nikita Koloff, a musclehead football player, has to learn in clip 1 here what method acting is.
Oh boy!
Because it's time to become Nikita Koloff, and he takes us into what that entailed. And listen to the voice.
Some Stanislavski shit in here. Let's talk.
And this is
yeah, right.
This is the guy you remember going.
I can't wait for this.
All right, here we go.
So what's interesting is I can't.
So what's interesting is.
So I had to become a Nikita Koloff.
Oh my God!
Here we go. I love you, Scott.
To learn this terminology later on in life. I didn't know this.
I didn't know.
Yeah. Wait till he says roof.
Okay. Oh my God.
Roof. Rough.
Here we go.
This is what I was doing. My understanding is called method acting.
Yes, there it is.
And look, I didn't go to acting school. I didn't go to a professional wrestling training camp. I was a football guy and a weightlifter. And so when I'm introduced to the idea of becoming this Russian, somehow I found a Russian workbook. I found a cassette tape, a Russian cassette tape, and I began to
a language tape.
Okay, all right.
I'm guessing, right?
Workbook. Like, what is this fucking Russian workbook?
I don't know. Multiple choice.
Math workbook.
Yeah, right.
From a Russian elementary school.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's like an audio tape where it's like yes. Da,
right.
And then he's learning because that's what he did for the first several months of his time as Nikita Koloff. He'd just be da, 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 da,
right.
And that gets it across.
Sure,
right?
I like his. Do you guys wardrobe them, or do they?
No,
that's his shirt.
Yeah, it's contractual that he has that he the paisley.
Well, I just seen a bunch of guys wearing like some really cool shirts. I dig those.
Love it.
I'd wear them.
Da.
Yeah. Da.
It's funny,
you see it though.
Well, that's the thing. Like even when he was talking normally, he's like, oh,
yeah.
With his eyes, like I'm like, holy, she's gonna kill me.
Yeah,
right here.
All right, here we go. About to whip out a chain.
Yeah, right.
Okay, here we go.
listen to the Russian language. I studied the workbook.
A workbook. Sorry.
Well, that's what they do in wrestling anyway, right? They study the workbook.
Yeah, right.
Right.
They only read worked book.
That's right.
The worked book.
The work. Yeah. That's the book Bible. I mean, the move Bible, where you go through all the moves. That's all the work.
They're gonna kill us for stopping this. Okay, here we go.
I legally changed my name to Nikita Koloff to get this character over. Now, Jim Crockett didn't ask me to do that. I did that on my own.
Is there anybody else who's done that before?
Warrior.
Well, that was after the fact.
But that was after the. You're right. That was after the.
But
fact.
like, as you're getting to work towards your debut, it'd be like if Mark Capani would change his name to Muhammad Hassan.
Yeah, no, I mean, what's funny about the wrestling business? We always joke about this. It's like everyone calls Shawn Michaels Shawn. He's not his name.
Yeah.
Pat Patterson. It's not his name.
No, right.
But other guys, like you don't call Triple H Hunter, but his real name's Paul. But we do call him Paul when we're trying to use his real name. But even when we use Shawn Michaels' real name, we still call him Shawn.
I was wondering, does Shawn Michaels' parents call him Mike?
Yeah.
They must.
Michael.
Amazing.
It's very
Change
strange.
your name to Nikita Koloff.
But he's
That's
Nikita
wild.
Koloff. Scott Simpson, Nikita Koloff. Amazing. Here we go.
And I just thought, well, if I'm going to do this, anyone who knows anything about me knows that if I'm in, I'm all in. When I picked up my first set of weights at age 12, I had a vision and said, one day I'm going to look like one of those guys in this muscle magazine I found called Iron Man. Well, fast forward 12 years later, I walk into Jim Crockett's office. I grow from about a 100-pound weakling, and when he looks at me and we're introduced, I'm 285 pounds, 8% body fat, 34-inch waist. So I had become what I saw 12 years prior, right? If I'm in, I'm all in. When I started playing football, I said, I'm all in. I'm going to eat, sleep, breathe. I'm going to study the playbook. When I step onto the gridiron, I want to be the best of the best of the best. When I broke into pro wrestling, I was like, I don't want to just be a pro wrestler. I want to be a world champion. I want to be the best of the best of the best. So I internalized the character. And in essence, you might say I became that character 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as I learned a few, as I learned a few Russian words, as I learned to sign my name in Russian.
Whoa.
And part of the story was I didn't speak any English. Like, I'm just off the boat. I was supposed to compete in the Olympics in Los Angeles in 1984, but the Russians boycotted the games. And so Uncle Ivan's going to bring his protege nephew in, turn him pro, and we're going to take all the gold and go back to Moscow, right?
That's a great storyline introduction for
That's
him.
good. That's actually good use of the headlines.
Yes,
well done.
that was nice. Yeah.
That was part of the story. So I just bought into it like hook, line, and sinker. And I'm like, I'm going to make every single fan buy into the fact that I really am from Russia. I really just off the boat.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good stuff. That's the business, man.
I actually remember when I interviewed him, I think it was for that Territories, which we're going to talk about later in.
Right.
But it's like the dedication that he had to this and all that he put into changing his name and all the stuff that we've mentioned. It's like, dude could have worked for the CIA.
Pretty much.
Seriously.
He could have been a spy.
He comes off as a guy like he's so over the top telegenic there. Like he's someone that could really pass off as somebody in real life that that he's not.
Or like a hitman or something. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. I'd be horrified if I saw him.
Because he's got that like gregariousness.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, this guy's like the monster.
He's got the Minnesota nice, but he's also got the Russian nightmare.
You can see there, right in that clip right there, how excited he can get. Like
Yeah.
he's just totally excited about even talking about what he did.
Well,
he's always a great interview.
We should say too, he became a preacher.
Right,
Yes.
that's right. I remember that.
A lot of wrestlers find themselves
true.
cutting promos from the lectern after
That's a good.
they're
There you go.
promos in the ring.
You need an audience. You always need an audience. All right.
And he gets that kind of flair from that too. He kept the skill sharp even after the wrestling career was over in that regard. But you mentioned Tales from the Territories. He did participate in the one about the Jim Crockett Promotions territory. That Tales from the Territories, of course, was kind of like a spin-off series, a Dark Side of the Ring, where we looked at the different territories as they existed in the wrestling business back, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s.
It was sort of a way for us to there's all these little amazing anecdotal stories that would hit the cutting room floor like this that were just so just visually evocative. They were crazy. They were singular to wrestling. And we felt like we just wanted to create a show where all those little kind of stories could exist in some format. And so we did it kind of by territory. And we invited Nikita down to be a part of it. His plane got delayed and he missed the whole round table.
Oh my God!
So you end up sitting him down separately. The show is like a round table format with four guys,
right?
So that you'll see kind of a different visual style on this interview, clip number 2, with Nikita. But I ask you one question quickly, JP.
Yes.
If you were, tasked with being this Russian in the wrestling business, when you went home to your girlfriend, wife, children, would you still pretend to be the Russian, or is that where it ends?
No. She needs to understand that this is not like if I was him. This is not Scott Simpson. He broke up with you. You're now dating Nikita Koloff.
Here's clip number 2.
This is Nikita Koloff. I will take you and ravage you like the Russian that I am.
Nikita,
all right,
at home.
All right, here we go. Yeah, so this is from Tales from the Territories. Wow. Okay.
I heard a little story that you
might have worked your girlfriend for a year. Is that true?
So I date this girl.
Unbelievable.
And she's got 2 kids. And they're 6 and 3 at the time. I'm like, man, you know, kids are so innocent. Hopefully this works out. I don't know that, you know, this relationship will. It eventually did, but I thought, I better around them stay in character, because I don't want them going to their school and go, hey, I heard your mom's dating Nikita Koloff, the wrestler guy. Does she really speak English? Because people ask that all the time. Is he really from Russia? Does he really speak English? And I didn't want them to go, no, he speaks perfect English, right? So for well over a year, even after I married their mother.
Whoa.
Even after the marriage.
Wow, they're now his kids. No, I mean, ostensibly.
Yeah.
I still spoke with the accent around them under the same roof. And then one night I'm like, all right, I just got to explain this to them. And the youngest at the time, Tawny.
This is a way to completely betray the trust of any child.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
Well, and to his credit, he gives up the ghost.
Yeah.
When I started speaking English like this, she goes, Mommy, what's wrong with Daddy's voice? Because she was so used to me speaking with the accent. She was like, couldn't comprehend.
No
she's
shit.
only like
Yeah. You're reprogramming these children.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this is amazing.
4 at this point. She couldn't connect the dots there. So, yes, true story. It was interesting because I would sometimes fly back to Minnesota and visit some of the family up there and explain to, you know, my mom, my dad, all of them. I'm like, hey, now, you know, if we go out to eat or something and we're out in public, I am going to be talking with an accent. And they're like, okay, that's cool. And I go, oh, by the way, legally changed my name. And they're like, all right, we get it. I mean, so they're pretty cool about the whole deal. In fact, to this day, my sister still calls me Nikita. She didn't call me Scott. She calls me, my brother-in-law calls me Nikita. Yeah, I mean, so it was fun.
Can you
Isn't
imagine
that?
I mean, that goes to I mean, Sean wasn't talking with a Russian accent.
No.
Let's say that.
Right,
No,
right.
Sean, but like to go that far, Mom and Dad, listen, I'm sorry. I'm a Russian with my family. All right, I'm Russian, so I gotta talk with an accent.
This is literally living with.
Also, call me Nikita, please, please. I'm not Scott here.
This is what it would be like to live with either a spy, you know, like a
Yes.
CIA
Yes.
operative,
Yep.
or someone in witness protection.
Yes.
You know, and
Absolutely.
it's miraculous. I mean, it is kind of evocative of the Sheik, because there's all those stories of, you know, how he would do very similar stuff, and in terms of, you know, in public and around people, he's putting on that he can't speak English.
Abdul the Butcher, too.
Abdul the Butcher, right? We
Yep.
talked about that.
What is didn't Hogan say something like, you know, he's Terry Bollea in the house and then he leaves and or was that, did I make that up? In the show?
No. He said.
Did he say that? I don't
He said,
remember.
I'm
I don't remember
basically-
what I make up on Hogan's voice and what I say.
Yeah. Terry Bollea ceases to exist as soon as he steps out of his house. Then he's Hulk Hogan.
Right. Then he's Hulk Hogan.
That was an argument he actually made, I think, in the.
He did.
That's right. That's in the
Yeah.
trial. That's
Yep.
in the trial. That's right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But I mean, you can say what you want about the similarities to Abdul the Butcher, but I don't think Abdullah's brothers were calling him Abdullah.
No.
They were calling him Larry.
Yes.
His family is calling him a
Nikita.
name he created for the wrestling business.
Right.
Crazy.
His own family.
Crazy.
So that's the business in some ways.
Love it.
So eventually Nikita, you know, who also humorously is in a situation where he doesn't really talk about this here, but he's talked about it in another forum. He can't run into a real Russian. What a nightmare.
Oh.
If he runs into a real Russian who's like, "Oh, I love you so much," but however,
You're dead.
you can't talk. You can't speak Russian.
Yeah.
He used to like just kind of play it off, like he just
Da.
make a noise, like,
Da.
I don't want
Da.
to talk to you, like,
Yeah.
'cause he can't carry a conversation.
course.
So you got to avoid certain
shit.
parts of Chicago, you know.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
So here in our next clip here, clip number 4, he's going to talk about, you know, before he was Nikita Koloff, before he was a Russian, just a Minnesota bodybuilder going to a wrestling match featuring Jesse the Body Ventura.
Mm-hmm.
who, of course,
Hey,
What's
big
up?
fan of that.
big fan of the big guy in the Twin Cities. Before he went to WWF,
Always a big fan of Nikita Koloff.
Absolutely.
Big fan of that.
absolutely.
He voted for me. Absolutely. I know I got his ballot.
Did he really?
I got his ballot. I sought it out.
Did you get ballot access in all 50 states? That's the question.
Well, they didn't give me ballot access in all 50 states because you know why?
Why is that?
They know I'd win.
Indeed. And Nikita showed up at the building knowing Jesse would win too. Because touche. In the first part, because wrestling is a fraud and a put on, and the winners are decided ahead of time. But secondly, because he was working out at Jesse's gym, and he shows up like, "Oh yeah, Jesse, we know him. Let's go to the wrestling matches and cheer for him," not realizing Jesse's a hated heel.
Oh,
These
yeah.
people are showing up at whatever the St. Paul Civic Auditorium, wanting to see him dead.
Oh yeah.
So here's Nikita here in this clip, and this is from the interview he did for the Road Warriors episode, talking about realizing that these fans here are showing up like they want blood, and he would incorporate that into the Russian character later, of course.
I love how angelic.
I know, he's got a halo, the whole thing. Like,
Yeah.
this should be in a church.
I actually remember when we
Is this
framed
his
up.
house? Or?
Oh.
No, this was a house. I think an Airbnb or something we rented.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
it looks like a chapel.
And
honest to
I
God.
actually remember when we took that into consideration in terms of the framing. We're like, well, he's a man of God. We will make sure that that's reflected in the framing.
Visual storytelling.
Yeah, I mean,
Well
this
done.
is all Jason Eisner right
It
here.
really should. I mean, you just needed him like this.
Saint
Yeah.
Nikita.
I like this. Well, I guess. Here we go.
My first live professional match or event ever was the St. Paul Civic Center. It was a deadlift match with Jesse the Body Ventura against a guy named Precious Paul Ellering.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Yep.
And there were 18,000 people at the
Remind me, we got to do a Paul Ellering Unheard.
Really?
He was amazing. Yeah, at some point down the road, we'll do that.
Good.
Anyway, sorry.
at the Civic Center there in St. Paul. There were about 17,975 Ellering fans and 25 Ventura fans. All the muscle heads from the gym.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll never forget, it was my first exposure to how serious in those days people took professional wrestling. Because we're cheering Ventura, and he does the deal, throws the chalk in his eyes and drops the bar on him. And, Ellering gets stretchered off out of the ring and the whole deal. And I mean, the people hated Ventura, and 25 of us are cheering him. We were leaving the arena that night, and this lady had to be, she looked 90, she might have been 80, maybe 70, but she was old. And I'll never forget, she walked by and she looked over, and there was a whole group of us standing there waiting to catch some elevators. And she said it just like this too. She looked and she goes, you're those Jesse Ventura fans. She goes, if I had a knife, I'd stick it in his gut. I'd stick it in every one of yours as well.
That's wow. Oh, my
That's
God.
amazing. Oh, my God.
That's
incredible.
absolutely tremendous. Oh, my God.
Let's go, Nikita.
Yeah,
Let's
right?
get it.
Oh, what business am I getting
That's not
into?
that's not the Russian nightmare I know.
Not at all.
Right, exactly.
My eyes are I'm like, whoa, these people take this thing way too serious.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's true. You got that right. You got that fucking right.
Yeah, you go to the building, man, and it's like, oh my God, these people are living and dying on who wins and loses. I thought this was all just
I thought it was all fake.
right. So everyone, and it is.
Yeah, right.
So it proceeds from there, and everyone goes off their own separate ways. Some of his friends, like the Road Warriors, get in. Joe Laurinaitis in particular, Animal, get involved in pro wrestling, and the word's getting back to him because he's still in Minnesota, not breaking into the business. That they have an appetite for guys like us.
Right.
These big muscle
Believe it.
dudes. And what do you think? What do you think about being a pro wrestler? And this guy's no clue. It's like, really? What are you going to do? Well, there's a need, it turns out, for a bald Russian menace. Because they came
And
up.
you fit the bill.
Well, we have a position available.
Correct. They had the idea for the character before they knew who would play it,
Right.
which is rare in wrestling.
Sure.
Not entirely rare, but it
Well, it's
happens.
like Muhammad Hassan.
Very much so.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Someone's going to get it.
Yeah.
And so we mentioned Ivan Koloff. He was the existing Russian heel of great vintage in the business, who Nikita was to be the nephew of. Jim Crockett, who was the promoter of the territory, who reaches out to Nikita to explain the concept. We also need to quickly introduce Don Kernoodle, who was a top star in the Mid-Atlantic territory.
Love that name, by the way. Don
I
Kernoodle.
know.
Go ahead.
World champion Don Kernoodle.
Yeah. They didn't change his name.
No,
kept
they
it.
did not.
Yeah,
Is
go
that,
ahead.
is that a ramen or?
I don't know. Don Kernoodle.
So
Go ahead.
So Don
I
Kanoodle,
actually remember we were saying that for like
were you?
2 weeks after this interview.
It's a fun name to say.
We're just walking around like, oh yeah, Don Kernoodle, and there was another guy that he kept saying in this interview over and over again. And we're like, oh yeah, him and Oli and Don Kernoodle.
Oh my God.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Hey, we gave it to Sully on the Boston accent.
Yeah, right. It's very true.
We got
It's very true.
Don Kernoodle. Okay.
Scott's turn.
Sure.
So he also has a role in coming up with the character. Don Kanoodle was a tag team partner of Sergeant Slaughter before he came to WWF.
Mm-hmm.
And so here in clip number 5, Nikita Koloff takes us through, how the job orientation. Here's what we're looking for, Scott. Can you do it?
Don approached Joe, and he simply asked this question.
Is Road Warrior Animal, by the way, his friend, Joe Laurinaitis.
That's right.
Hey, Joe, do you know any big guys who wouldn't mind shaving their head and becoming a Russian? And Joe goes,
Like completely changing nationality,
Yeah.
all ethnicity. You were born something else, but now you're a Russian.
Yeah.
Would you mind being a Russian?
Yeah. Well, we got a job for you. You need
Yeah.
to be Russian, though. Okay, here we go.
man, I know the guy right now. Let me give him a call. And I remember Joe called me. It was 9 o'clock one morning, and I'd been bouncing the night before. Got in late. I was tired, but I saw he was calling. I answered the phone, and he's
Phone.
Poor
Sorry.
guy, he's gonna have no.
I'm
chance.
from Minnesota, so
Yeah.
I can call it out. Phone.
Yep.
Gotta pick up the phone. Okay, sorry.
like, what do you think about pro wrestling? I go, man, I think you're doing great. And he goes, no, what do you think about? I go, like being a wrestler? What are you talking about? And he goes, yeah, these guys in the Carolinas approached me, and they're looking for, they got an idea for, they shared the story with me of the nephew for Ivan, and they're looking for some new talent, and they asked me if I knew anybody, and I told them about you, and they go, well, hang on. I go, did they know I have no wrestling background, like no amateur background, and I've had no professional training? Like I've never even hit a ring rope? He goes, yeah, I told them, and they don't care. He goes, so they didn't care. I go, well, what do I need to do? What would I do? He goes, call this promoter in Charlotte. His name's Jim Crockett. Here's his number.
And we're off to the races. Can you imagine
How
that's how it starts?
amazing.
Jim Crocker?
Jim Crocker gets the call. Absolutely. Brings
That's
him in.
crazy, though.
That's
like,
wild.
Just
That's, but how many times you hear that? That's the story. That's kind of the age-old story. I don't know what to do. I know this guy. He's fucking huge. He's a weightlifter. You can make money in pro wrestling.
Especially
yeah, because
in
they
the
just
80s.
they size you up. They look
Right.
at you and they say, "Oh, he's got the physical attributes."
Right.
But maybe it doesn't matter if they can do this or not. I mean, Road Warrior is a similar story, and
Absolutely.
precisely
the same story.
Yeah, exactly. So.
They're like, because by the 80s, it was like people want bodybuilder physiques. That's what they want.
You want that Schwarzenegger look.
You
is
want
what
the Schwarzenegger look. Exactly. It's not just in wrestling. We talked about superstar Billy Graham, and he was kind of the first to bring that kind of incredible hulking physique to the table. It worked, and people tried to replicate. And it was sort of like table stakes. Like, are you huge?
I
If
heard
you're not
that this-
huge, it's not going to work.
There was so much juice going around. Everyone had their own orange groves.
So there he is, and he's in, and he gets the call because he fits the mold. Because people were being orientated into the business who didn't even care about pro wrestling. They just wanted to stay
right.
swole. All that. And this is a way to do that.
Yeah,
And
sure.
just to have a rock star lifestyle
And
on
make
top of it.
money and all that stuff.
Yeah, we'll learn how to wrestle later.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I don't know, in terms of where we're going after this, but one thing too, it's like the sort of fruits of his labor in terms of playing this gimmick so convincingly to fans and even Hollywood is that he got the opportunity to audition for Ivan Drago for Rocky IV.
Yes.
Oh, no shit, I didn't
Which
know
is
that.
amazing.
That is amazing.
That they brought him in. And again, old Nikita, Scott, is working everybody in the audition process because his name is Nikita. He's like, oh, we got a real Russian guy coming in for this and the whole thing. I can't quite remember the upshot of the story, but I believe it was something to the effect of he knew how small he made Stallone look by comparison or something. And he's like, oh, I'm dead in the water because
in Rocky 3, Stallone comes up against Hogan, who's
Right.
supposed to be this wrestler who's bigger than him.
Right.
But it doesn't make sense in boxing
But
that your
isn't-
opponent is that much
But
bigger
they
than
play
you.
up the idea because it's not like a it's an exhibition fight
For 3, yeah.
for 4. It's
For
an
4?
exhibition fight.
Oh,
Like,
right,
it's not because it's in Russia, but they make Lundgren look like he's huge.
So that's
too.
why I don't know the full. I can't recall the full.
That's what he says.
He
that
doesn't.
what he says?
I'd say this: he doesn't look slick like Lundgren does.
No.
He looks definitely more burly, bear-like, and maybe if they
I mean,
were looking
Dolph
for
is
someone,
such incredible choice, obviously. And he's an actor and all that stuff.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
So
I
I'm
mean,
sure that's
not-
probably just where they were going. Maybe they were doing their due
Say
diligence.
shit in there. I
here.
will break you.
Yeah.
That's what it fucking says. Like,
That's the extent of it. Yeah.
Nikita Koloff would have been fascinating in that.
Wouldn't it have?
Because I think he could have looked like he could legitimately kill
Sure.
Stallone.
That's true.
Like I mean Lundgren, he's great. He's got the imposing physique. He's tall and whatever. But like fucking Nikita.
Wouldn't that have been a
brutal.
story though, that he just in terms of coming out of nowhere, Minnesota, and then
What if that's it, and he had to this day,
Yeah.
be Russian,
what if he got nominated for an
Right.
Academy Award? And,
right? And
you know.
like he could never break character. Like
That's
he
a
had
what
to
if
be it.
now.
I
Like,
know.
he couldn't now
Thank
lie
you.
to America, to
Yeah.
all to Hollywood, nothing. So he would.
And then
be
he gets
Russian.
exposed.
Right. Oh man, forget it. He's done.
Scandal.
It's
Done.
amazing that all those years he lied to his mother about who he was, but didn't lie to Mother Russia, did he? And so here he is.
Loyal to Mother Russia.
Yeah.
He is a Russian, and he had to rely, in those circumstances we talked about. This is clip 6, Evan.
Okay.
He had to rely in those circumstances where he
Yeah.
was in the company of somebody who might know what a real Russian sounds like
Mm.
and what the real Russian language sounds like.
Wow.
What is he going to do? How is he going to pivot if he ends up in that situation? And here he gives us a little bit of a glimpse around like autograph signings and places where he's got to be cognizant that there's a chance that somebody will know he's a phony Russian in the immediate vicinity.
I love this.
According to fan poll and now hearing many fan stories, I was at one point voted the #1 most hated guy in professional wrestling. I have a pastor friend of mine, sometimes he'll introduce me, he goes, "This is Nikita Koloff, the Russian Nightmare, the most hated guy in the world." And I'm like, "Rick, like the most hated guy in the wrestling world, not just,
Yeah, right.
I'm not
A clarifier.
That's very, 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 very specific. Yeah.
You don't get to draw that distinction
Yeah, right.
anymore, does he?
Yeah, right, exactly.
a poster in a post office, but that to say, and I fed into that because, like, in that era, I believed to get the character over, I wasn't going to engage with any fans. I wasn't going to sign any autographs. In fact, on more than one occasion, fans outside the arena would get awfully heated. They go to Ivan and they go, "Ivan, tell him to sign our autograph or tell him to say something to us." Man, mum was the word, and the look. People would say, man, the look, the stare, right? The eyes. Man, you had those eyes, Nikita, that could burn a hole right through you, right?
Still do.
Let's look at those eyes.
See, so you're trying to get, hey, Ivan, make Nikita sign my thing, and then he looks at you like that.
Oh, forget it. I'm out. I quit.
Abdullah talked about that too. Like, if you're in a situation like that, you just have to make eye contact with the person, and they will back off if you look like Nikita Koloff.
Of course.
Amazing. Here we go.
Right? And so I carried it to the nth degree in order to get the character over, and numerous fans have said, "Man, dude, I loved to hate you, man. Wow, with a passion." I'm like, "Get that dirty commie guy," and so, yeah, and I thrived on that and got it over, I guess you'd say.
Wow.
Indeed you did.
Yes,
Indeed
you did, sir.
So fans are coming after him now. It's
Were there any
starting to get a
Russian
little
villains
hairy.
like in the 50s or whatever? Like, you think I'm thinking about like Joe McCarthy days. Like, you really
yeah,
couldn't have gotten.
yeah.
Could you gotten away with? Yeah, all right.
I'm sure there were.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Gotten fucking picked up and
It took a while for like
Put him in
Russia to
prison.
versus German
Yeah,
heels.
yeah.
Yeah.
to transition out.
Yeah.
By like
It's
the
probably
80s.
80s is very
Cold
Russian,
War,
yeah.
obviously.
yeah.
It is Cold War.
50s,
Yeah.
50s Cold War for sure, but I'm
Yeah.
just wondering.
Yeah, but
I
it
was
was-
thinking about McCarthy, like actually wrestling in McCarthy
sure there
era
was.
America. Like,
I'm sure there was.
how do you know?
Yeah, there was less of it, but there was like Alexis Smirnoff was later, but
Yeah.
somebody had that name in the 50s, but it was more like Reagan rah.
Right, for sure.
Yeah,
that-
because that's
what
where it
did
all really riled up there.
That's what did it.
Yeah.
So he's starting to get kind of in hairy situations with fans. If we get clip 7 here, we'll talk about how it's starting to get a little weird. Like fans are trying to run up on him. Like he's really established as a bad guy that they have all the license in the world to attack and hate if they want to. And a little bit here on the life he chose and how he's in the ring with greats like Ric Flair as Nikita Koloff and having to worry that people might run into the ring and try to attack him.
So here's what's interesting about my character and about that.
That's definitely
Not who you expect.
That's definitely not the voice of the Russian.
Here's what's interesting about my character.
Oh God,
fucking funny.
we love you, Scott. We're
It's
not.
amazing. No, it's the juxtaposition.
It's the juxtaposition, and it's
You know?
endearing, and
Yeah.
He knows it.
yeah.
He gets that.
He
Yeah.
knows.
So here's what's interesting about my character and about that era in the 80s, because it was the height of the Cold War, is there were literally, believe it or not, there were death threats for the Koloffs.
Oh my God.
Wow.
If the Koloffs come to town, like I can think right now, Charleston, South Carolina, Ivan and I, Jim Crockett let it known that they had got calls to the office that day that if we showed up in Charleston, that they were coming after us, right? The good old boys of Charleston were coming after the Koloffs.
Wow.
Jesus Christ. That sounds like a nightmare.
Dukes of Hazzard car.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Jesus.
No thanks.
And Crockett's like, hey, no big deal. We'll just beef up security. And, I guess you'd say I was in a mindset that I was 10 foot tall and invincible. And so I wasn't ever really concerned, per se, for my safety. At that time, in that moment in time, I believed I could protect myself. Now, here's what's interesting. There were 6 different times fans came over the barricade and tried to come after me, literally. In fact, one and only one time, and it was the first time a fan actually got a hand on me because I wasn't expecting it. It was at the first ever Great American Bash main event, World Heavyweight title against the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And it's well documented on film. And the cops, I think, thought it was a part of the show. And when they realized, I don't think this guy's supposed to be in the ring, and I realized it was a fan, they roll in, they get the guy, arrest him, get him out. 6 different times, 5 against Ric Flair.
Wow.
Jesus.
So that's
Christ.
that's the life he chose. You want to play this role? You want to convince us in every single context?
You want to make money in this business?
Yeah.
All right.
And that's, again, to make a parallel with Muhammad Hassan too.
Yeah.
It is also part of what he signed up for too. That's sort of the, if you lack of a better term, the dark side of this kind of gimmick and choosing it and committing to it is, it's not going to be fanfare and people getting behind you and the adulation of being on television and being a star. No, it's going to be everybody's going to hate you and they're going to want to kill you.
And in this kind of gimmick, you won't get to decide when to turn it off.
Exactly.
You won't get to say, all right, guys, there's a line here. Don't attack me now. No, they will attack because you will have to be that person.
Yeah, you have to make them want to.
That's wrestling.
Yeah.
So it's amazing the parallels and this sort of like unique dynamic that pro wrestling has created for guys like Scott Simpson, a.k.a. Nikita Koloff. And here in our final clip on the season, we're going to look at what happens when a fan actually succeeds in getting to Nikita Koloff. Nothing too grisly on the way. I don't want to set false expectations.
Okay.
But indeed, what's most telling is, you think the fans are the only marks here, right?
Oh, no.
They're the only ones that could justify attacking this menacing Russian. People in polite society would certainly see it. Maybe a judge would see it as ridiculous that someone could feel justified attacking this man during the course of his performance. Not necessarily the case, because when you're Nikita Koloff and you mean business from a character perspective like he does, maybe even the gentleman wearing the robes understands that a little violence may be in order for the good old US of A.
All right, here we go.
Magnum and I wrestling, single match. Ivan's in my corner. Eventually, a guy named Baron von Raschke makes his way to the ring. And the 3 of us are in the ring ganging up on Magnum. Now, the fans loved Magnum. Anywhere and everywhere he went, they loved Magnum. Now, we're in Norfolk, Virginia, close to his hometown. And so it makes him even more of a fan favorite, right? And on this particular night, I catch out of the corner of my eye, here comes I think this was the 6th time now at this point, that a guy's making his way over the barricade, makes his way into the ring, and I catch him. And as I wait till he gets through the ring, and as he gets through the ring, he stands up. I give him a pretty stiff boot to the stomach. He goes down. I'm like, okay, that's it. I turn to walk away, and he's getting up again. I'm like, wait, what? And he goes, he gets up again. I give him another boot. He goes down. I turn and I look, and he's getting up a 3rd time. I give him a 3rd boot, and I yell. Now, Magnum's still being beat up by Baron and by Ivan. And I'm like, Ivan, get my chains, right? Get my chain out of the corner. We always kept it in the corner. And this guy goes down a 3rd time, and Baron and Ivan grab the guy. Ivan tosses me my chain, as I recall the story, and I'm like, okay, I'm defending myself. Now, I don't know, like legit, I don't know if this guy's, I mean, in the past, Ole Anderson was cut by a knife from a fan, back in the day. So he's in my domain now. He's inside the squared circle.
Whoa.
I'm going to protect myself. This guy obviously has some sort of vendetta against me, right? And so I whack him with the chain, only later to find out that he had suffered an injury. He got arrested eventually. I guess he went to the hospital and it suffered an injury, came before the judge, and as the promoter shared the story with me, the judge said, "What do you have to say for yourself?" He said, "I think justice was served that night." And the judge looks at the paperwork and says, "I think you're right. Don't ever do that again."
Oh, that's good. That was
That's
good.
wild.
I think you're justified, young man. Just please don't do it again.
That's great. Tremendous.
Unbelievable. And you can see the United States flag right behind the judge.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
When he issued said
Yes. You did good.
said guidance.
Someone-
You did good. I think we did good.
Someone played a recording of Stars and Stripes Forever right when he said
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, cue it up. I
Absolutely.
think we did good.
Yes, we
I
did
think
good.
so.
Season 2 of Dark Side of the Ring Unheard is in the books, and
Yep.
we do hope that you enjoyed our dig into the Dark Side archives. Thanks for watching, and don't forget, Tuesday, 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Vice TV, the season finale of Season 6 of Dark Side of the Ring, a look at the price of being Muhammad Hassan. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you around the way.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.